Associate Editor at the Australian newspaper, John Ferguson, and National Political Editor at the Courier-Mail, Renee Viellaris. Thank you both for your time. John, it's fascinating. I mean, just that little bit there about Julia Banks, but Chisholm, it looks like that will stay in the Liberal column. Who would have thought that coming out of Victoria?
Well, no one really. It was 2.9% margin. It looks like Gladys Liu will win it by about 1,222 votes, so it's very, very tight. But it was one of the... Labor always said 2 to 4 seats. This was one of the 3 that they had locked in and said, we'll get Chisholm, and, well, clearly they haven't.
Yeah, I just think it's extraordinary. I think it's issues like the high rate of investment properties owned by the residents in that seat. I think it's a very dogged campaign. All credit to Gladys Liu. She's been a long-time party person. Queensland, Renee, has been a real talking point the last couple of days. I was going to say the little mouse that roared, but Queenslanders have always had a big personality. I can't call them that. It's interesting that today Annastacia Palaszczuk has been mugged by reality. Someone said to me on the Labor side out of Queensland, this just means that finally she's got the numbers against Jackie Trad. She can stand up to Jackie Trad, and that's why she feels confident in going forward with Adani. How true do you think that is?
Well, I still think Annastacia Palaszczuk is a ceremonial premier. I think she knows that she has probably lost the election if she doesn't support Adani. But if you think about it federally now, Labor does not hold a seat north of Brisbane now. That is extraordinary in Queensland. And I think at the end of the day, for state Labor, it is woke and broke. It's not going to matter what she does now on Adani because people will see through it. And I think that this is a Labor government ready to die.
John, just in Victoria, I think the transition that the Liberal Party is going through is most pronounced in your state. Those outer suburban ring of seats, the Caseys and the Astons, had strong swings to them. In fact, I'd have to say, I think Aston now, this is the seat of Alan Tudge, is actually a safer seat in numerical terms, double digits now, compared to Kooyong, which is in single digits. That's the seat of the Treasurer. It's in inner city Melbourne. It's sort of Kew, it's Balwyn, it's Hawthorn, leafy suburbs. What's going on, do you think, inside those Liberal seats in Melbourne that perhaps isn't so pronounced as you go further up the eastern seaboard?
Oh, well, it's absolutely fascinating. Josh Frydenberg in Kooyong, he had what was everyone thought was a really good result, but when you drill down into those booths, Hawthorn, the suburb of Hawthorn, Julian Burnside's vote actually outstripped Josh Frydenberg in the main 2 booths. So what you're going to see is, I think, a real trend of the inner city really being tough for the Liberal Party. But then you go out to where Alan Tudge was and Kevin Andrews. In those outer suburban seats, the National Liberal campaign worked really well. It didn't work as well in the inner city. So I think you're seeing massive structural shifts that will affect both the Liberal Party and the Labor Party. But in terms of Melbourne, I think those 2 seats, Kooyong and Higgins, both had Liberal Prime Ministers. I think you're seeing the end of them, the end phase. I mean, Josh Frydenberg, just very quickly, he pumped, I'm told, roughly $1.5 million, perhaps more, into that seat. He couldn't have done it any better. But I just think you're going to see the real phasing down in the inner city of the Liberal Party in Melbourne.
Yeah, and I think you'll see Prime Ministers down the track come from those outer suburban, indeed, possibly even the regional seats. They'll have the stronger margins. They'll have the sort of connection. Scott Morrison's seat's a good example here. They'll have the connection with the people who will, in the end, decide the fortunes of both parties as they go to the election. I know the focus, Renee, has been on the Labor Party and I guess its sort of cultural clash between the inner city trendies, the green types who are controlling the party today, and the old Labor worker that we've talked about in relation to Joel Fitzgibbon in Hunter. But of course, the Liberal Party is going through that same debate, and it's whether the party room, when they return to the Parliament, the Liberal Party party room, is cognisant of who supported, dance with the one who brung you, as my dad used to say, the one who got them there on Saturday night. Those sorts of voters are not the people that tend to have the loudest voices in the party room. And I know Queenslanders are already saying, we want a piece of the ministry.
Yeah, that's right. I think too, it goes back to how Labor was really focused. It seems like they ran their campaign through Twitter. I mean, I've never dropped my kids off at school and a mother said to me, have you seen the latest tweet by X or Y? I mean, in regional Queensland, it's all about jobs. It's all about putting food on the table, getting their kids a job. It's way more myopic about what they can do about their hip pockets. You know, I think when you've got too much money, you start to worry about social issues, which Queenslanders just don't have. You know, they just can't do it. They're worried about, you know, just real issues. So, but in terms of Labor, they have to go back to their roots. They've forgotten who they used to represent. So I think, you know, it's just like there was talk about Malcolm Turnbull having issues in terms of, you know, dragging the party too far to the left. I think Albo's going to have some issues on that front as well that he'll need to fight for in terms of, you know, not appearing too left, because then you open up the whole issue about refugees and climate change. So,
well, and he has voted for that in the past. He's voted for that in the past at the National Conference, the Labor Party National Conference. He violently opposed boat turnbacks. So, I mean, he has a lot of baggage. Yes, he's seen as laconical and sort of the old Labor mould, but he has a very deep left history that I think will come back to bite him, or certainly he'll have to deal with it if he does take the leadership. I want to just put up a picture here. This was taken and posted. I want to put up this picture. Interestingly, this is in the Leader of the Opposition's suite. It was posted by the Labor Party on Friday. It was basically a message to say, we are ready. Let's take a look at the image. I'll flash it up on the screen for people at home. It's interesting, if you look at all the characters in that photograph, Penny Wong can't run for the leadership. On the other side, Chris Bowen's out today. Tanya Plebiscik was out on Monday. Bill Shorten was out on Saturday night. The only man there still in the race, aside from Anthony Albanese, and he's yet to confirm whether he will run or not, is the man that's seated there at the front, Jim Chalmers. John Ferguson, do you think we'll see Chalmers run, or will it be a late Almazed Anthony Albanese?
Oh, look, I think he should run, and I think if the Labor Party was smart, they would just have a crack with him on that. Labor needs to modernise. I think people were just in part sick of Bill Shorten. I think that they should go with someone from the right. I mean, Anthony Albanese can't even say today whether or not he supports Adani. I just think if I were Labor, I'd be going, let's modernise. Look, let's talk about it. In 18 months, we'll be in campaign mode again. Do you want to have somebody who's going to take the party a bit to the right, appeal to Queensland, young, presents well, really smart? I mean, that's Jim Chalmers. You know, nothing particularly wrong with Anthony Albanese, but he has so much baggage. I think that Labor should be looking really seriously at Jim Chalmers.
Well, let's play a grab today from Annastacia Palaszczuk up in Mackay.
I'm really sorry that Labor let you down. I'm really sorry that happened. But I'm not going to let Queensland down. The community is fed up with the processes. I know I'm fed up with the processes. I know my local members are fed up with the processes. And we need some certainty and we need some time frames.
All right. It's a bit of a Queensland passage for leaders to admit a mea culpa there, Renee. Do you think that cuts it with Queenslanders, or do you think that people are still so angry over Adani that she's got no choice but to really now make this project happen?
I've seen some political amnesia in my time, but no one is going to buy that. I mean, they've put up every roadblock possible to stop this mine from going ahead. And it's only because of the tremendous result in Queensland for the LNP at the federal election that she's even looking at this. I mean, you know, people, I think, do know the difference between a government that stood in the way the whole way and another that tried to push for it to go ahead. No, I just don't think anyone's going to believe it. I think Annastacia is not going to last as Premier. I don't know who's going to take over, but it can't be Jackie Trad. The whole thing's, is a debacle.